breath and stepped out into the cloud and continued yelling. And eventually what I started doing was walking around feeling with my feet, feeling for the bodies. And you could feel things against your ankles and your pants leg and so forth, but it wasn't bodies. But I was still getting no response, and I don't know how many times I did this. I ducked back in, took a breath, came back out. And I did find a couple of, well, I didn't find a couple, people walked into me. And I just grabbed them and threw them towards the doors. I don't know, men, women, I have no idea. Right? And at one point, going back to the doors where I knew there was air in there, and a young agent had come up and was holding open another door, and he had taken up what I was doing, was yelling, you know, calling for anybody to come this way. And eventually, and I have, as I said, I have no idea how much time elapsed here, but light began to try to come through again. You know, it's like a very dense fog night, you know, that you begin to think you're seeing things and so forth. And well, for the sake of time here, eventually the things cleared up enough that you could see probably about, you know, a foot and a half or so. And I got back by the doors, and at that point, the agents who had been inside, just as a group, they all came out. And by this time, I was also sure that none of the other agents were there. I mean, if you think about it, it's logical. I was inside the building and see what was happening. So I didn't know what it was. They were outside, and they saw exactly what was going on, and they ran. They were all fine, but I didn't know that at the time. And all the agents came out, and I just them, and I said, I need volunteers to go looking for our people. And without a moment's hesitation and without a single word being spoken, the entire group stepped forward. And these were mostly young agents. New York is a very large office. There's over 1,000 agents there, so I didn't know any of these people. You know, I recognized some of them, but I didn't know them by name or anything. And you know, I just, no, I'm not going to lose any more. And I just picked the 5 or so that were closest to me. And we headed down towards the Trade Center. And one of these agents was a young woman, I guess probably late 20s, 30 or so. And she was walking just a little bit from me off to the left, and she had blonde hair about halfway down her back. Very professional pink pantsuit on. And, you know, I remember that low heels that she was wearing. She was slogging through that debris and people parts and so on and so forth, just bearing straight ahead. And I remember thinking, good people. We got down to the corner and crossed the street onto the Trade Center side. I turned my back to the buildings, and I started giving instructions. You know, I grabbed the first agent. I said, "You go down there for a block and see if you see anybody, and then just come back. Don't go off on your own. Come back and report." And I was doing that. And this young woman, now it's her turn. And I said, "You go south a block." And she's looking over my shoulder, and suddenly her eyes got big. I turned to see what it was that she was looking at. And you've all seen those pictures of those 50-foot and larger sections of the skin of the building that came down and pierced the sidewalk like a knife in a butcher block or something. And I hadn't seen it walking down because the air wasn't clear enough yet. And I turned around and I saw that. So I told her, I said, "Go as fast as you think is safe, and come back." And at that moment, one of the other agents said, "Look over there," and I turned, and coming out from in front of the North Tower was somebody wearing an FBI jacket, the blue jacket with the yellow letters on it. As a matter of fact, we were all wearing them, and he was stumbling around. And, so I went over to him, running over to him, and he wasn't fully coherent, and he was saying something about other agents and the people, and so forth. So we went in the door, and we were presented immediately with that same cloud. Outside, there were wind currents to carry it away. Inside, it was just as dense as when it had first started. Now, I will admit to, as all of us who were there, I revisit the Trade Center every day, and I always will. I know that. And for the first couple of years it played, it was not images, but what happened inside that door. All you could hear was sound of voices of hundreds of people inside there. There was no panic, there was no screaming, there was just the voices of people talking. They couldn't find their way out. So we started calling them. Come this way. This is the way out. We kept that up, and we got no response. And this agent who had stumbled out was trying to talk to me, and he was saying something about the other agents and around the corner and so forth. So we left, and we went around onto Church Street and came back in, and went into the lobby of one of the perimeter buildings, and all the ash and dust and everything's there, and the building was vacant. There was nobody at all. And looked down the escalator, which had stopped, and down there, the building had collapsed, sort of parts of it. There were beams down, all of this sort of thing. So we went down, walked down the escalator, and climbed through what was there. And essentially, what we were doing was getting back to where we were above underground. And eventually, we came to a door and opened it up, and those same voices and that same cloud. And we started calling again, and this time we got a response, but it was clear to me that what we had here were there were firemen or policemen, there were people in there. And I suddenly had this moment of clarity that I'm wearing a suit and tie. We haven't got helmets, we don't have a flashlight, we have nothing. And it dawned on me that I'm going to get these agents killed. And so I ordered all of them out. It was a moment's resistance, but we got out. I just kind of got to get about 15 feet or so ahead of me, and I was bringing up the rear, and I was climbing around, I don't know, maybe an I-beam or a piece of ducting or something that was hanging down. All of a sudden I heard a voice at my feet. And I looked down, and there was a police cap there. And I reached down and I was moving things. What I came up with was a police radio. That's what I was hearing. And I thought, there's a body here someplace. And I started looking around, and I didn't see anything. Couldn't find anything. And I thought, well, maybe he dropped it and ran. I mean, I ran. Why wouldn't he? And I thought, well, with the radio, I'll be able to track the serial number, and we'll find out who it is, and so forth. Why didn't pick up the cat with this badge and number on it? I will never know. It's, the things you do or don't do in those situations. So I got back up. As I got to the bottom of the escalator, I could see the last of the agents who were in my group moving off the escalator. So I got up there, and as I got to the lobby, the only other person in the lobby was Herman. Across the lobby towards me. We didn't say anything to each other, just nodded, and we almost touched shoulders. He was going down the escalator that I had just come up, and I wondered many times